hello for viewers. This is the BAE, and we have Audre'ana. She's above me. So, Audre'ana, just give us a little background about yourself and the environmental space, what you like to do, and things of that sort.
Okay, so for me, I'm a senior at Howard University. I'm an environmental studies major and political science minor. So that's kind of the ground line of like what I'm doing within this space and movement. I don't have like varying interests as I've matriculated through my university. So at first it was kind of like the food. So I had an internship with Dreaming Out Loud Community Garden, which is located in DC, just understanding what they're doing for the nonprofit sector and trying to help the community have access to healthy food, organic food for that matter as well. And then just like overall, just policy and justice in that capacity and research. So just like, for example, research, I'm doing something with the environmental program at Howard, trying to have, or since COVID-19, we're trying to have more of our data within the community, but it's kind of difficult. But the groundwork of that is just having focus groups and just understanding the ecological and sociological effects of like the area for that community in Ward 7 and 3. But yeah, that's like kind of what I've been doing. I'm on the team for Generation Green, which is a new nonprofit. A Howard University student started at Destiny Hodges, so that's very exciting. Trying to get that up and going. I'm sure a few more things, but you know.
Okay, so next question. What is your mission in the environmental sector, and what do you want to accomplish?
Yeah, for me, just like being an environmental justice advocate, it's my personal mission, is pretty much similar, I feel like, to almost anyone fighting within this world. I mean, whether it's for food or health, there's so many sectors with environmental justice, but very similar, trying to have a safe space, a safe community for people um, who are just living, in order to do this, it's very important for us to have social inequality and racial, or not inequality, but equity, social equity and racial equity, because, environmental justice is so intersectional. So without environmental justice, that can't happen if we don't have social justice.
See, I completely understand. I feel like people in the environmental space often forget the things that cross into the environmental space, and then we get an issue where it's like environmental justice heavily affects Black people, Indigenous people, and any people of color in low-income communities. So I feel like going forward, we really need to start creating those intersections so that we can build an actual environmental movement that encompasses everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why, like, for so long, Sierra Club was like the most known, I mean, it still is, but the most known like green organization because of just what they do with conservation. But end of the day, it's not just conservation work that's important within the environmental movement. And I'm so glad now that everything that's going on with like this trying to say that, hey, okay, Black people, we're here, we've been oppressed forever. Like, started with the police brutality and like the protests and that, and now everyone's coming forward saying, hey, we need to make it known that in every sector, careers, organizations, what have you, like there is oppression. So environmental justice movement, like the whole focus is to help the Black, brown, minority, oppressed communities. Hey, we need to do something about it. So like with Sierra Club, they had that statement come out saying that we're gonna try. So hopefully, they do something with that. But there are like other organizations that are already doing it for so long. Like We Act is a great organization. So.
Okay, question number 3. Where do you see yourself in 5+ years?
Yeah, 5 years. It's so funny with these questions. I'm like, oh, that's so far away, but then it comes up very fast. And like for me, it's just so difficult to like really know. Like I said, I am very, or people who know me, I'm very like a person who's in the moment. So even day to day, it's like difficult to know what I'm going to be doing. So 5 years is kind of like hard to figure out what I'll be doing, but for sure something like community organizing, related, or lobbying related,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe doing something abroad. Because I'm very passionate about traveling. Right now it's difficult because, coronavirus. Hopefully, 5 years from now, that's not going to be an issue. Um, but yeah, I would love to be doing something abroad. But in general, something with the environmental justice space, advocating for the community for sure.
Well, I know you did study abroad. Did you want to touch on that a little bit about the work you did?
Yeah, for sure. So when was it? Sophomore year. So it was like 2 years ago, a year and a half, something along those lines. But anyways, I studied abroad and I went to India, specifically Jaipur was like my program home base. So there I did studies as focused on what was it focused? Like mostly the social inequality, sustainable development. I want to say mostly sustainable development. So just going there to learn from professors who are in the field abroad and just seeing what they do within the community there to help fight those issues, and just going to other cities and communities there and trying to figure out what they can do, and just learning, really just learning from them. At the end, I had like a 1 month internship where food related, so I was at a organic farm just learning um, how they grow organically and try to help the community there and it's the farmers there, because with Monsanto that really like affected their growing patterns. And like, I mean, here in the US, there's so many large farms that are monocultural, just a lot of tomatoes, a lot of corn. So in India, I don't think, from my understanding when I was learning there, it didn't impact as much, but there's still her like the soil and their seeds from generations ago. So just trying to build up what they already had. So yeah, my study abroad experience is great. I love this. That's why I really am trying to go abroad again and doing something internationally.
Oh, that sounds fun. Well, I hope you get to experience that sometime soon. I know some borders are opening now for you.
Yeah, kind of open, but like you have to test like negative, but then still, I don't know.
You
It's
gotta
scary.
enter the mess. So, since you are an environmental studies and poli-sci major, where do you see the politics and laws lacking when it comes to the environmental sector? And what do you think can be done to improve these intersections, or what do you think should be done?
Yeah. So I think everything is so heavily affected, like through the state and the local levels. Just the fact that communities, they're just not put in the loop. They're really not, and it comes to the fact where there'll be toxic waste sites or just hazardous facilities coming into communities, and they don't know anything about it at all. It comes to the fact where you have to have community organizing, and I mean, community organizing is great, but why do we have to wait till it becomes when the organizations are going to break ground and have these facilities and you don't know anything about it, then you're fighting the state and local governments to try and get it out. So having more regulations so that community members are more in the loop and understand what's going on, and they can have a say what's going to be in their community, because that's just not fair overall. So having more regulations on that. And then I think another issue that should be addressed is multi-million corporations taking business abroad. So like the United States, there are lots of regulations, like EPA regulations, saying what you can and can't do if it's going to harm the environment. Now, a lot of organizations take their work abroad because they don't want to follow it. It'd be cheaper to go abroad. So trying to stop them in some capacity. I know lots of lobbying has been done around that, but yeah, something to try and stop that, because it's almost become a sort of like neo-colonization. I saw it a lot abroad, and people talked about abroad when I was in India, just like how it's just taking from communities, is infecting the community the same way it would be here. So trying to stop that as much as possible.
I know you would probably know this better than me, but I know there was legislation at some point about e-waste and how we weren't supposed to be shipping our e-waste all over the world to other places, even though many companies have been caught still doing it anyway. So is there anything you want to say towards like the e-waste like conundrum?
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Yeah, and like it's so difficult because I think it's gotten to the point where so many places almost rely on this source of income. That's like another issue just within the space as well. Like there's they're so engraved in that community where countries ship the e-waste or whatever waste it is, and like that's becomes the local source of income. So I mean, you want to take it out, but then like how do you replace like what they're already like earning? I know this is not really specific e-waste, but just like trash in general, recycling in general. You know, China, they stopped all the incoming imports of waste because they're just getting too much and they're fed up and they just don't want it anymore, you know? So, yeah, I don't really know specifically what we could do about that. It's more just like trying to fix infrastructure of what we have in the United States. I mean, there's so much that we can do, and so many people in government like, oh, it's too expensive, all these excuses. But at the end of the day, like, there are so many ways that we can combat the issue. Just investing in it, because in the long run it will be better for those that are being impacted. So right now, investing the money.
Also, I feel ooh, that was weird. Also, I feel like a lot of the infrastructure here at home is older infrastructure because, like, for instance, our train system isn't up to date with like the world's train systems. And like we are kind of back when it comes to things of that nature. We don't tend to update things till it becomes a problem. So I think for the environmental space, we need to also look at when we put in new infrastructure, how up to date is it and how can we manage it so that when we do need to make those repairs, it can be made in a timely manner and not just like a crazy kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This question is for you, my love. Why do you feel it is important to highlight environmental justice issues, and how do you think they can be highlighted better? I know a lot of times we think of, you know, environmental justice, the environmental movement as recycle, 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 go plant a tree, don't litter. And it's very like minute things, but it's not like the big picture or the big issue. So what do you think we can do better for like the bigger topics that we need to discuss?
Yeah. So just like these organizations that are popping up now, and is highlighting that, getting the information out there is just so important to keep doing that. So people can see that, you know, visual evidence. I mean, Sierra Club has lots of issues and they should have been addressed, but you know, Sierra Club or big organizations, big green organizations like them, you know, really putting out that information is just so vital, because if people don't see it, then they're not going to want to act upon it at all. You know, and then also just trying to I don't know, be aware, and like when you individually see something on Twitter, like, you know, relating it back to what happened or what's been happening with the police brutality, and like showing these videos, like I think that's just so important, because it could be easily swept over in the rug, or under the rug, lol, under the rug, sorry, if you don't see it on a day-to-day basis, you know. It's easy to say, you know, people will see the evidence and not really act upon it, but I think if it's day to day, week to week, like people are gonna get upset and are gonna want to do something. So yeah, it's just so important. I feel like it's just very, very important. And then how can we do it better?
Yep.
I mean, the same like I said earlier, just like having these organizations, you know, really understand the importance and not think, oh, this is just a simple article I found out on the web, like I don't think I need to repost it. But yeah, repost it. I think anything you find is reposting it, so that people can really understand. And then I think that allies that aren't Black, aren't people of color, should really start vocalizing. I think that there's so many people that really, like you said earlier, that think it's just conservation, cleaning up like the river or the street, picking up trash like that. But just like so that other, white people realize like, hey, no, this is a bigger issue. Like so many people don't realize there's just like so many issues. Like even with conservation work, there is a lot of issues that, I mean, yes, we want to save our space, our wilderness spaces, but so many indigenous people, live in these spaces. So there's been issues with them having pushed out because it's just now a national preserve and no human people can live there. So issues like that. So I think more white people need to do a lot of work, in all honesty, because yeah, within the environmental justice space, Black people, people of color have like known these issues and been vocalizing for years, but it's not as much, not as many people have really like pushed it as hard as Black people. So I think white people need to take the step up, and do something.
For your personal life, do you see that like when you bring this stuff to the attention of like your family members, do you see like one side of your family being more like receptive and the other side of your family kind of being confused? Because I know personally for me, like my mom is very much on the sustainable train, like, and we're all going. And then, so like, we'll get more eco-friendly products in the house or anything. But I know when it comes to like my brother, for instance, he just is like, that's more expensive and that's a lot to do. So do you personally have any like experiences where it's been like you're trying to get everyone on board, but it doesn't really work as well?
For me, I feel like I always try to do like my own, I don't say my own thing, but really buying the eco products and like seeing like how, like if they like it, like, oh, let's buy it, or oh, I like that, like let's keep buying it or something like that. Because I not want to like push stuff on people, and I always talk about new articles I read that's like environmental justice related or sustainability related. So I have seen, like, I want to say maybe it was 3 years ago, I was pescatarian. So a few people in my family said, oh, let me try this to see what it's like. Or I was buying a few more organic products, so or hopping on with that as well. So I think it's more so I'm like showing the lifestyle and showing like things that I do, and like seeing, and like when I'm showing them and explaining why it's important and why I do it. And if they hop on, and they hop on. I I'd hope they still continue. So I think it's the same with like friends as well. Like I'll talk about like certain important things in my life, because environmentalism, sustainability is like revolving, ever revolving around me. So
Okay. So we talked about this, so let's talk about the youth. How do you think that we can get the youth more involved, and why do you think their involvement is so important? Like them growing up in the world today, why would you think that teaching them sustainability at the age of 5 is more impactful than trying to teach someone they're an adult?
Yes, it's so important. Education is so important. Sustainability education is so important. I think that when we're, especially for my experience is a bit different, because I think my schooling, I had a bit more education about environment and stuff. But from what I've seen here is that, they don't really go beyond, reduce, reuse, recycle, or composting and stuff like that. So it's going into depth of like understanding our environment, like how we're so embedded in it. Like a lot of schools are in the city, they don't have the experience of like lots of nature. So taking students out into the environment is really understanding, and then having more lessons on really what's going on like today, especially when we had so many of the environmentally based protests, just like really understanding how it relates to the to the broader world. With the youth, I think, along with protests, I think a lot of youth think that they only need to participate in protests, like that's the only thing that they can do. But honestly, like there is so much more that they can do, especially now. Um, like older generations always said, I'm trying to make the world better for my kids. Like that needs to stop when you realize that no, we want it better for us now. We don't want to keep waiting on, because that's why keeps getting pushed back, and like the earth can only hold on for a few more years, like really, truly, truly. So like we need to realize like how much power we have, how much our voice holds in this climate right now, and really push. Like there's so many organizations out there that you can join as a youth, as a young activist, and really vocalize what you have to say. I heard this quote the other day, is that we need to move beyond protest to policy. Like we've protested, I mean, protesting is so important, never stop protesting, but we've been protesting for so long. Like we need to change something needs to change now, so having the policy enacted. So just like a few organizations you can consider joining is like Alliance for Climate Education, Our Climate Voices, Sunrise, Climate Justice Alliance, Generation Green, which is a nonprofit I'm with that is just started up. So yeah, definitely is go out there and do your research, try to find organizations that are locally too, so you can help your communities locally. But yeah, your voice is important, so go out there.
No, I definitely, I feel like youth is so, I don't want to say scared, more so not fully informed, because I feel that we push protests and we push petitions and we push all of this, like, let it be known, let it be known, let it be known. But where is the next step? And I think that a really big thing for the movement going forward, especially with our youth advocates, is going to be, let's keep it moving forward. What is the next step that they can take? So really joining organizations is a very good one. Following pages like Generation Green and Environmental Day.
Yes.
Or just finding a community that actually does environmental justice and education work, just so you could stay on top, because there'll always be something that you can help with when it comes to the environmental sector. Whether it's a beach protest, you can do education in classrooms, anything. So really just taking the next step out there and going to do what you love and finding an environmental intersection for that.
Yeah, for sure. And don't think that like because you're not well versed on like environmental verbiage that you can't do something to help. Like so many people started and like knew that this is just an injustice and didn't really know where to start or what to do, but it's like I need to do something. So just find the people, the communities, the organizations, and just express your interest. I'm sure they'll definitely want to have you on.
Just find your home and your niche.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But thank you so much, Adriana, for talking with me today. And I hope you have a great day. This was the day. And Adriana, of course, from Generation Green at Howard University. Anything else you want to tell the people? Any shout out?
I don't think so.
Okay, girl. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.